And of course, it's now time to welcome Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains in Penrith for our weekly finance segment. And today, Rob, we're going to be discussing what's happening with interest rates.
Yeah, well, what's happening is we've had another rate cut. So there's been a lot of discussion about that in recent days, and the RBA cut rates by 0.25% on Tuesday. So we're going to be paying less on our home loans, at least for now.
And getting less on our deposits too.
Yes, well, if you're relying on that for income, particularly if you're a self-funded retiree, it's probably not good news, but if you've got a mortgage, it probably is good news.
So, Rob, why has the Reserve Bank gone ahead and cut interest rates? What's the sort of economic driver and thinking behind that?
It's all about poor economic data at the moment. So the growth of the economy is not reaching the target. We've got poor consumer confidence. So consumer confidence, the index is about the same as it was around the time that the budget was announced, which was an all-time low. And also business confidence is down. So all those sorts of things, all that data coming through, also the rise in unemployment, all of those things have indicated to the Reserve Bank that they need to stimulate the economy, so they've cut rates.
Okay, what do you reckon the chances are of more rate cuts coming up?
Well, from what I read, I find it really hard to accept this myself. It just seems to be going lower. But from what I read, there's still talk of more rate cuts. So some leading economists are saying that we could have another rate cut maybe in April or May or somewhere around about then.
What do you reckon, another 0.25
Yeah, well,
so
they're talking about 0.25 then, and perhaps another one toward the end of the year. Of course, everything always keeps getting adjusted as new data becomes available, but that's the kind of conversation a lot of the economists are having.
Just doesn't pay to have money in the bank nowadays, does it?
No, it's probably better to have a mortgage, Vin. I know who can help you with that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, funny about that.
Rob, how long do you expect this sort of period of low interest rates to actually last?
Yeah, again, it's very hard to say, but it could be a couple of years. It could be a couple of years before it turns again. And I think I read something on the weekend. They were talking about maybe 2016 or 2017. So it depends, but it's going to go on for a little while yet.
Well, it'll certainly help to boost the mortgage applications, I guess, the rate of mortgage applications and so forth.
I think it is, because it's a little more affordable at the moment for a lot of people. But that's got issues as well, and it seems to be favouring, and a lot of the discussion there in the media is it's favouring more the investors than the first-home buyers. Great
yes.
for the investors,
Yep.
But it makes it a lot more difficult for first-home buyers to get into the market because it's pushing the prices up.
Okay, so the Reserve Bank having cut interest rates, how have the banks responded?
Well, they're starting to pass it on one by one. Most are passing on the full 0.25%. Westpac's passed on a 0.28%. But their standard variable was already higher than most of the other banks anyway. So I think one by one they're all going to pass it on. I don't think there'll be any exceptions.
All right, well, let's just take a little break and we'll come back and talk about interest rates with Rob in a little while. But let's hear from George Michael and his duet with Elton John, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
That's all right.
That's a great duet, George Michael and Elton John. That's probably my favourite version of that song because I think their voices go together so beautifully well. Look, we're back with Rob Lees. Rob, let's look at fixed rates. Are fixed rates also going to fall? Do fixed rates fall when the Reserve Bank reduces the cash rate?
Fixed rates are falling. They don't automatically fall when the Reserve Bank cuts the cash rate because they're kind of tied to funding costs. So they don't automatically fall. And I guess what the banks are doing when they look at fixed rates is they're projecting years in advance. So if they're looking at a 3-year fixed rate, they're looking at what rates are going to do in the next 3 years. And if it's 5 years, the next 5 years. And they're starting to cut them. So one by one, even over the weekend, I started getting emails, and the big banks are cutting the 5-year rate. 5-year rates were a historic low at 4.9% for 5 years across pretty much all the banks. And the big banks now have come down to 4.69% for 5 years. The Commonwealth Bank, Westpac this morning, 4.69. ANZ's come down a little lower at 4.59. Newcastle, permanent, came down last week at 4.59 for 5 years, and they're normally the lowest. So the big banks, one of the big banks at least, has matched them there, and I think we're going to see more cuts there, some big cuts.
What can you do if you've already locked in your fixed rate and it's no longer competitive?
Yeah, there's probably not a lot you can do. It depends. It really depends. I guess the best thing is to get a quote from your bank to see what it's going to cost you in terms of a break cost. We got to understand that a fixed rate is a contract. So you're contracting to the bank to leave it there at that rate for a period of time. And if you break that, there is a fee, and you'll need to weigh up as to whether that's worth paying that fee or not. So the bank will give you a quote. If there's only a little while to go until that expires, that may not be big, and you might, just calculate that in terms of the savings that you're going to make. It's probably worth saying. I've got clients who've signed up in recent days for a fixed rate, and their loans haven't settled. One good thing there is that normally with most banks, if they've signed the documents and the fixed rate hasn't settled yet, they'll get the new rate. So it'll be the fixed rate that's applicable on the day of settlement. But if you're not sure, talk to your bank or your broker and just make sure.
All right, Rob, thank you again. That's Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice, Blue Mountains in Penrith, with our weekly finance update. And you can contact them on 4739 9749 or visit their office at 3/13 Hope Street in Blaxland. And we look forward to seeing you again next week, Rob.
See you next week.
Okay, terrific.